Hello everyone, I'm Shiro and welcome to my review of the Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash episode 5. Now, if you remember last time when I did a review of episode 4, I started speaking about a kind of a list of things I was expecting to get from episode 5. Some of those things were like finding out a little bit more about the other group of adventurers, finding out more about how they're going to deal with obviously Manato's death last episode, and I had this kind of list of expectations, and they fulfilled pretty much everything on that list, but in ways I wasn't really expecting. I thought this was kind of going to be a episode where we see them kind of speaking as a group to the other group, and kind of figuring out where to go, maybe getting some hints and tips, and it was just going to be a character development episode more than anything, and it definitely was character development, but in a very different way from what I was expecting. It was very much just 20 minutes of grieving and depression. That was pretty much the whole thing. There was a small clip where they tried to replace Manato with a different priest, a girl called Mary. She seems very kind of quiet and also kind of passive aggressive and very kind of obnoxious. She's very much like Ranta, the Dark Knight of the group. In that they're both very, very stubborn, very kind of arrogant kind of people. She doesn't really seem to fit in. To start with, I was kind of thinking that maybe she wasn't going to be kind of a main character that was going to stay there too long. I was thinking maybe she's going to be one of the few people they try out, and maybe she'll come back at some point as a relevant character. But as soon as I saw her, obviously she has different coloured hair and she's wearing her own kind of unique clothing and stuff, and she's got her own character types. She was obviously going to be a kind of mainstay in the group. And I wasn't really sure what to think about that at first, because she really didn't get along with the others, and the feeling was very much neutral. You see a lot of kind of scenes of the three male members of the group in the bar, kind of drinking away their sorrows and arguing with each other out of desperation and grief and sadness over what they're going to do. Haruhiro struggling with the fact that Manato was like a big brother to him. Overall, it was a very, very good episode. We got to see a lot of character development, a lot of kind of story development as such. We kind of get to see now, this is the group, right? We're starting from basically square one again. This is the group, and the two female characters, Shihoru and Yume, the mage and the ranger, were very much kind of upset and against this new priest that they brought in, because Manato was their friend, and suddenly they're, without telling them, bringing in this other person who they don't even know, without consulting the whole group as a group. And they were very, very upset that this whole group is a group of of friends, that they are nakama, they are family, and for Haruhiro and Moguzo and Duranta to kind of go against that, they weren't best pleased. They were kind of upset with that, and there was a really, really touching scene between Haruhiro and Yume where they're kind of both crying and grieving, and they both let out all of their frustration. They end up basically just heaped in a pile on the floor, crying to each other. You definitely kind of see some feelings that Yume may have for Haruhiro develop. She says that it feels very, very calm and warm, snuggled into his chest like that. And when she realizes that from certain angles that might look kind of weird, like it might be something a bit untoward as such, she didn't seem too bothered with it. He was very bothered with it. He was the kind of typical shonen protagonist, like, shit, that's not a good thing for people to be spreading around and stuff. But she was just like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah. And that was kind of the last scene, so it was kind of nice to see that, at the very end of this episode that was very, very dark and very, very sad, to see, a little bit of kind of humour kind of put in at the very end there. So it did seem to have kind of a happy ending, and Haruhiro definitely seems to now be taking on the mantle of Manato. He's definitely kind of going to take over the leadership. We do see a little bit of Renji and his kind of group, the very, very kind of powerful group. He walks in, and obviously, he seems kind of very antagonistic in what we've seen of him before. He just kind of leaves without saying anything to the others, picks the strongest ones and leaves. and we kind of get an impression that he's kind of a douchebag. But when he walked over to the table where Haruhiro, Ranta, and Moguzo were drinking away their sorrows, he just walked over and expressed his condolences and offered them a gold coin, which would have basically solved all of their problems for the foreseeable future. They would have been able to get their proper volunteer soldier badges, so they wouldn't be trainees anymore. They would have been able to basically make a living. But, you know, on a note of pride, Haruhiro turned it down and gave it back to him, and, you know, he accepted it. He was like, okay, fair enough, I understand, and walked back. That was very nice of him. Like I said, I expected him to kind of be more antagonistic, more of a douchebag, but he wasn't. He was actually kind of fairly nice, and another member of the kind of group they came with, I'm not sure whether he's part of Renji's group or he's become a group with someone else, I'm not sure. It wasn't really clear. But he was very, very drunk, and he came over as soon as he saw them. He didn't know that Minato had died, but he was seemingly kind of good friends with Minato. Minato used to go to the bar a lot. And you kind of see that, like, you know, they fleshed out this other group a little bit more, and that was really interesting to see that they're not all just kind of heartless badasses who just left this small group of essentially kids to fend for themselves. They're actually kind of human as well, and they've got their own emotions and feelings. They just did whatever they felt was the best, that gave them the best chance of survival. And you see that they're kind of dealing with that, and they're dealing with the kind of the lack of determination to actually go forward and keep doing what they've been doing. They've lost sight of their goal now that their leader has died. And so Haruhiro is definitely kind of struggling with the fact that he feels like he owes Minato something. He feels like he's responsible in some way. And Ranta brings it up as well, and they almost have a massive argument. Moguzo, though, the beast that he is, slams his hands down and is like, shut the fuck up! You're getting, like, really, really, you know, like, over-exaggerative and really kind of depressing about this. Stop arguing with each other, you're making it worse. You know, and they both just kind of go, oh, whoa, okay, shit, and they sit down, and, you know, that was Moguzo's defining moment. He pretty much is my favourite character. I very much like him as a character. He's kind of like this timid giant who's really good at cooking, and that's really cool. It's really cool that he's like this really strong warrior type. He's also really good at cooking. This is weird. He's very much kind of the mature one. He's the kind of quiet, silent, mature one, but if the need arises, as we saw, he will go berserk, and you do not want to be in the way of that, and that is so awesome. I can't wait to see him actually in like a fight where he has to get serious and he has to get angry and he will just demolish people. I can't wait for that. That'll be so fun to watch. But yeah, it was a really, really good episode. The animation took a bit of a turn for the worst, but I'm not sure whether that was actually due to a drop in quality, excuse me, or whether that was due to a drop in the kind of steadiness of their emotions and stuff, because obviously they were doing a lot of kind of crying scenes and sad expressions, and they were grieving. You know, your face doesn't keep its composure when you're grieving and you're that upset, so it was kind of understandable. But there was a few moments where like the proportions were a bit off. Like there was a moment when, during the scene with Yume and Haruhiro's arms were like tree trunks, you know, and his hands were kind of meant to be hugging her, but they were kind of like this, kind of around, like basically like the air, and not actually. They looked very kind of disconnected and a bit weird, but I don't know. That might have just been kind of a few one-off scenes, but it's definitely not too much of a problem. The art is still actually really, really beautiful to look at. You know, the backgrounds and stuff are really, really nice still. The character designs are all really cool as well. I can't really fault the art too much. But yeah, I kind of, it wasn't really what I was expecting and hoping for from the episode, but it definitely fulfilled my expectations in a different way, and that's definitely not a bad thing. From the next episode, I'm kind of hoping we see them working with Mary, the new priest, more. I'm hoping maybe you can see a scene between Haruhiro and Shihoru the mage, because you know, there was a small scene at the end where, you know, she looked out of the kind of bathroom window wearing a towel and saw Haruhiro and Yume kind of hugging, slightly obscured by the wall, so I guess she kind of misconstrued that a little bit. But it'll be kind of interesting to see, her response to what's happening, how she's going to react, how she's been coping with Monoto's death, because we didn't see much of that. She seemed very upset, but she's seemed upset for the last 5 episodes, so we don't really know so much. Obviously, Monoto was kind of the only one of the guys she could really actually talk to and get along with. She spoke to Haruhiro a little bit because he wasn't a douchebag like Ranto was, and Moguzo doesn't really talk much anyway, so they never really had any kind of communication there. But it'll be interesting to see how she's been coping with it, what she thinks of Haruhiro kind of becoming the new leader, I guess, what she thinks of Mary. Ultimately, I think they can very much get along with her. I think she's going to be I think Mary's going to become kind of like the big sister kind of character, similar to like Nico Robin from One Piece kind of thing. She starts off very kind of antagonistic and cold, but she's kind of the mother of the group at this point, the big sister kind of mother figure of the group. It'll be really interesting to see how this develops over the next episode, and hopefully next episode I'm just kind of expecting it to be like another kind of fight scene montage thing of them killing goblins and getting used to Mary and kind of Mary fitting in with the group. And I think that'll be a nice change of pace because the last 2 episodes have been pretty dark. The first 3 were pretty light-hearted. These last 2 have been pretty dark and kind of upsetting, kind of a bit of a kick in the teeth from what we've been used to. And so it would be nice to kind of either change of pace and kind of make it light-hearted again, or it could go and just keep advancing the story and stay kind of dark and intensive and very kind of drama heavy. Either way, I won't really mind. I'll like it either way, I think. But I would definitely prefer it if it became more light-hearted for the next episode at least, kind of just until we're used to Mary as a character, and then once we're used to her, once she's now a main character and she fits in and we actually like her, we will be kind of in a comfortable position to actually move on with the story now that we'll have all of the characters in place. But until then, I think it's kind of going to be weird if it moves on with the story too fast and she's not kind of fitting in yet. It's going to kind of be weird and feel a bit disjointed and stuff. But if she obviously has time to fit in the next couple of episodes and then they progress, I think that will work out better for the story as a whole. But I'm going to leave it there. So I'm going to say thank you for watching, everyone. This episode was good. I really liked it. I kind of like it when they switch things up and not every episode is kind of happy. This was very much kind of a solemn, sad episode, and it worked. It portrayed a lot of emotion, a lot of feeling, and I like that. So I'm looking forward to what happens. But yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. I have been Shiro. This has been my review of the Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash, episode 5. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, leave a like. If you want to see more, then subscribe. And I will see you all again very soon. Goodbye!
2 groups. One of the groups contains all of the strongest people, and you see them all and they all look kind of badass.